Everyone should have just gotten a beautiful, hey, heads up, we're recording this. So welcome. This is the 2022 Interscholastic Unified Tennis Pre-Competition Briefing for the state tournament next week. I'm Zach Cintron. This is Katie Turner, no longer Gleason, even though the email may say that. And I think we have Mike Sarnowski lurking as our VP of Sports as well. We're going to go through everything you guys need to be prepped for the state tournament next week. The one thing I will say is you should have gotten an email that had the event guide in it. Look through the event guide. The event guide has the deeper details for the event next week. We will get into some detail tonight, but we won't go into every little detail that is in the event guide. We will talk logistics. We will talk about some points in the event guide. We will not review the whole event guide. We will talk about credentialing, and then all the points of emphasis that you need for competition, which also includes indoor and outdoor situations at JTCC because we have access to both. Again, Katie, this is Katie, that's Katie. We also have Mark Sunkel on here who runs skills for us. So we have the whole crew inbound for this meeting. Just a heads up, medical personnel will be available. It will be from Free State Medical, which is a company that we work with. Again, you guys follow whatever your protocols are, especially on the bus on the way to the state tournament. Once you get to the state tournament, we have medical on site that will take care of you. If you have a special condition or need for an athlete, I know something that's come up at Outdoor Bocce is somebody needs a room for changing or feeding or what that might be. If you have something like that, please email me and Katie, quite honestly, ASAP. We can make some accommodations on things. But if we don't know until the morning of, it's really hard for us to take care of that. So again, any special medical needs, let us know, but we will have medical on site. Location, same place as last year if you went. If not, the first time you're going to be going this year is the Junior Tennis Champion Center. It's right on Campus Drive, so if you've ever been to UMD's campus in College Park there, where the arch is that leads to campus, instead of going through that arch, you just go the opposite way on Campus Drive, like a mile down the road, you will hit JTCC. Just a note, based on the quality of the facility, I think people really loved it last year. But one of the former participants that learned to play tennis at JTCC actually beat Rafael Nadal in one of the, I don't know if it was the US or the Australian Open this year. Australian Open. And so they have some really high quality tennis players. They have, if you go in their lobby, you'll see all the pennants from all the schools their kids go to. So really high quality facility that you guys will be going to. And so Katie's trying to remind me of which events the JTCC person won. It was the US Open. But anyway, so here's the schedule for the day. We haven't really deviated from the main schedule all that much. Essentially, you kind of have a 9 to 10 o'clock window. We put to 10:30. We know there can be some traffic with 495. We know some of you are coming from distance. I've personally been recommending anyone that has reached out and asked about arrival times, put your window between 9 and 9:45 so that hopefully you're there at 9:15 or 9:30. The reason I say that is because then it gives you court warm-up time. Court warm-up will start at 9:30 and we'll go to 10:15, and it stops at 10:15 because we got to roll the day. We will have a coaches meeting at the control center tent, which as soon as you walk in, you are going to run directly into the control center tent to pick up your packets for your team, so you'll know where it is. Opening ceremonies is scheduled for 9:45. If everybody is there earlier or on time, we will try to roll it earlier. I'm sure I do not need to convince you guys that the earlier we get going, the earlier you guys get out, the less 495/95/295 traffic you hit going home to get your kids home earlier. So again, try to get there between 9 and 9:45. If we get everyone settled in nice and early, we will cut warm-ups at 10:15. We'll coaches meeting at 10:15. We will opening ceremonies at 10:30. we'll have people on courts by 10:45 and be 15 minutes ahead of schedule. As always, we will offer lunches. We have all you guys taken care of for lunches. We do need you, if you have not done so yet, based on the email that was sent yesterday, we do need you to turn in your lunch forms to Katie. Again, if you should have gotten an email yesterday. If you didn't get an email, you will see my email 1,000 times in this presentation. Please reach out to me. Let me get you that email so you have the things that you need, the event guide, lunch requests, and other things that we put in that email. Additionally, I forgot to mention this up front, gotten so used to doing webinars and Zoom. If you have a question, feel free to raise your hand to ask a question. Feel free to put it in chat as well. I can pull things from chat and we will answer questions along the way. If not, we will answer questions at the end, and we have a section in the middle for answering questions. Match schedule. I've got a couple of questions on this. Katie is putting the final touches on the match schedule as we're doing this webinar. So we are definitely going to get it to you Friday by noon, and we will have 2 variations of the match schedule in case we're outdoors or we're indoors, because we have 1 less court if we go indoors. So just so you know, match schedules will be to you by Friday at noon at the latest. With that said, when it comes to people getting on courts and what to expect for matches played, we guarantee every doubles pair will get at least 1 match. Ideally, we work to get everybody 2, but that's going to depend on timing. And again, if we end up indoors with 1 less court, timing gets impacted. More than likely, if we move indoors, everyone will firmly get 1 match. So have everybody prepared for that. But we will do our best to get as much court time for everybody as possible, ideally getting them 2 matches. Rain date. We do have a rain date of November 3rd, but this is only if we have like cataclysmic hurricane, nor'easter, snowstorm type of weather next Tuesday. If it's mild weather, if it's rainy, if it's relatively windy, we will go on November 1st, but we will go indoors to the indoor courts. With that said, again, if we have some sort of crazy, absolutely crazy, we're talking hurricane, snowstorm, whatever, if schools would be closed because of bad weather, we will then go to the rain date. The likelihood of going to the rain date, though, is like 1%. It might not even be that high, but we just wanted to let you guys know. So we are going to talk about the indoor plan. If it's raining or if it is windy to the point where we won't get quality match play on the courts, we will go indoors and we will try to make that decision prior to your arrival. There's a chance that we make it morning of on the 1st. Again, it won't impact your travel plans one way or the other. You'll just have to be a little bit heads up for participating indoors if we need to. This is the layout. We would be playing on the green and blue courts. These orange courts are just like the clay courts that are outside. Nobody should be on the clay courts. Again, we talk about that every year. The clay courts at JTCC are off limits to the point where if we see anybody on the clay courts, we will DQ that team. We want to respect the facility for JTCC. They do a great job hosting us. They really take care of us. They really give your athletes the best experience that they can get in a tennis facility that's at least one of the best in Maryland, if not on the East Coast. So please, nobody on the clay courts, whether we're inside or outside. Notes on the side, again, we have 8 doubles hard courts instead of 9 if we go inside. We tentatively are staging on one of the singles courts that are off to the side. More than likely, I anticipate we will pivot from that and stage people in the safest way possible along the pathway in chairs. So be prepared for a pivot one way or the other. We just need to see how tight it is once we put bodies in the building. And then additionally, you see up on the singles court on the top right in the green, we will have skills there initially in the morning, and that will get turned over to awards in the afternoon. If we go inside and you need to access the control center in the main JTCC building, which is attached in the section on the bottom where it says enter here, there is a small cafe and we will have 2 tables more than likely in there for control center. Students, when you are in there, there's places for benches, there's places for chairs. You might be floor sitting in some spots. There's some sitting places in the lobby that will allow people to go into. If the weather's not too bad, there is that deck that overlooks the primary court that if it's just a little bit windy and you don't mind sitting out there, that's available as well. But the biggest thing when we're inside is it's gonna be a slightly tighter fit. So be prepared if we go inside that it might be a little bit of a tighter fit, and just be patient with everyone. The great thing, and you'll see in the next slide, is that entry to the indoor buildings does not change from the facility entry if we're going outdoors. It's right on the sidewalk where you drop off. You get off the bus, you get on the sidewalk, you get off the sidewalk, and you're in building 3, which is awesome. So when you do walk in, don't walk in and just like claim a space and drop stuff. We will have SOMD staff or management team that will direct you to an appropriate location. We want to keep people moving. We don't want to jam up the entryway. We don't want people just dropping bags directly on courts that will be played on very quickly once we get in there. Here's the map. This green line off to the top left that you see, that's where you drop off for buses. That's exactly where you walk into building 3. This first barn looking building is building 3 where half of the hard courts are. So if we do need to go indoors, your drop off procedure and pickup procedure does not change whatsoever. If we're inside, opening ceremonies will be on one of the doubles courts, to be determined court number. We will let you know in the morning. We are going to put it furthest from the entry in building 3 because otherwise we're going to have a total cluster for the main entry and exit points. Again, the biggest thing is if we go indoors, listen for announcements. Announcements are going to be the key for this event to keep everybody on track. We will tell you when and where to go for opening ceremony. We will tell you when and where to go for staging. Again, if we're indoors, keep a heads up, listen for announcements, be flexible, and be patient with folks. If we do have opening ceremonies, we'll do it on a court. Then we will ask your students to sit on one of the courts. So have them be prepared to floor sit. If people need chairs, we will have chairs and stuff for those who need it. So again, the biggest thing is we will prep an indoor and an outdoor schedule, knowing that we go from 9 to 8 courts. The biggest thing from that will be likely that we won't have second matches. We will definitely have first matches for everybody, but second matches will be on an as-needed basis. We will have skills on that single court. And again, the one thing we were working up against is programming at JTCC is going to start about 2, 3 o'clock for their youth programs and after-school programs. So technically our day is a little bit shorter. When it comes to outdoor, we have a little bit more access to timeline. Outdoor, we have access to everything until 4. So again, match schedule will be shifted around because of courts and time, but to make sure we stay on track and support JTCC as much as we can, we're all going to communicate and we will work together as much as possible to keep the day flowing. So be ready. Again, be flexible and just be prepared for being indoors, and it'll be a little bit tighter. If we go inside and we distribute lunches, lunches will come from a table inside of GTC's main building, the lobby where all the pennants and stuff, where their desk and front systems are. So again, you can have lunch wherever seating is allowed, where we tell your teams that you can sit, but you have to clean up, whether it's inside or outside, after your team. We want the facility to look at least as good as it did when we came in, if not better. Again, they take care of us at JTCC. We want to take care of them. Awards will happen regularly, but with reduced space, we are going to have a specific flow and pattern to awards. This also goes for outdoor. You will see when we're outdoors that there will be stanchions that run along the back of the training court where we did awards last year that will funnel teams into. Just pay attention to signage when you get to awards of staging areas versus spectating areas, and it'll make awards a lot easier and a lot more streamlined than it was last year. We're going to pause here. Questions on an indoor move if we move indoors next week?
The only thing I have before we do questions is when we're indoors, they are very, very strict about what goes on the court. So when your athletes are playing, they can only have water on the courts indoors. They cannot have Gatorade. They cannot have any sugary sweet drinks. It is purely water. And that is because it's incredibly hard to clean the courts if you spill Gatorade. So please keep that in mind too with your athletes if we do move indoors.
Great point. We'll bring a ton of water bottles. You'll get water with lunch. Additionally, on the water note too, if we can, we'll give you 2 different garbage bags in your. We will definitely give you 2 different garbage bags in your packet. If you can recycle in one and garbage in the other, at the rate that we use water bottles now in a post-COVID world, I would like to recycle. I know that's easier said than done. Did have a question from Brenda. Is there room for parents to cheer on the teams? Yes, it's still just going to be a little tight. There are plenty of walkways. So again, it's going to be one of those things where there's room, but the best thing will be is people not hunkering down in walkways will allow people to shift and cheer as needed. So hopefully that answers your question, Brenda. Any other questions on indoor? All right, I'm not seeing anything pop up. Just a thanks for Brenda. Thank you, Brenda. All right, we are moving on to the outdoor plan. The outdoor plan, I'm going to be pretty honest with you. If you went last year, the outdoor plan hasn't changed all that much. The main thing is parking for buses. One of the additional things that I sent in the email yesterday is a step-by-step guide of how to do drop-off and pick up with your bus driver to share with your bus driver. Essentially, you come in, you drop off at that green line, and as you're dropped off, you as coaches with your teams will walk down the blue dotted line. That isn't an actual road. It's kind of just a service road with a name behind JTCC, so no worries about not being safe on that road. You'll walk down that to the facility. As you're doing that, the bus drivers will turn around the big municipal lot next door and go back out the campus drive and go over to 52nd Ave there and park in the splash park / ice skating rink park down towards the end, so we're not taking up too much of their parking. That's the main drop-off and pickup game plan. Again, make sure you get the cell phone number of your bus driver. If you have the opportunity as your team's getting awarded to call your bus driver and say, we're getting awards, we're going to be at the pickup drop-off location in 12 and a half minutes, and to have your bus there, that's going to get you on the road a lot faster. So be prepared. Again, check the email I sent yesterday for the bus step-by-step drop-off and pickup guide. It worked pretty well last year, and it should work well again this year. General parking. And this will come up in a slide soon, if you have somebody from your school that is traveling independently of the bus for one reason or the other that needs a handicap spot, you need to email Katie and I ASAP, and we will put you in a designated parking spot in that red front parking lot. There's not a ton of parking there. That's the primary parking for JTCC, but we can get handicap parking in there. Additionally, if you are a coach that's traveling separately, if you have an administrator, anyone from your school that's traveling separately, please tell them to park across the street at the ice rink in that black box. Anywhere in the ice rink over there is fine. There's plenty of parking. And then they can walk across to JTCC. The yellow lines there are going to be UMD police, and it's protected crossing. Campus drive can be relatively busy in the morning. UMD police came out last year. They sat out there all morning and helped you guys and volunteers cross to JTCC. But again, if you need handicap parking, we can take care of you guys. We just can't take care of you the morning of. We are more than happy if we have a heads up. Let us know tonight, tomorrow, Friday. I mean, even if you forget or somebody pops up the last minute this weekend, I'm going to say you can reach out. If we get anything later than like Monday at noon, we're just not going to have the time to put it together. We're already going to be down there taking orders at the facility, setting up the facility. We may not even see your email. So again, if you need handicap parking accommodations for a student athlete, for a coach, for an administrator, that's fine, but we need to know sooner rather than later. This is the same thing. There's roughly a dozen spots. I don't think we used that many last year, but they're first come, first serve based on requests. So please, again, email me, put Katie on it. At this point, if you send any emails for anything IUS tennis to me or Katie, just put us both on it so we definitely double see. Any questions on bus transportation for buses or anything else as you're getting to the facility? Any travel questions? Fantastic. Silence is what I like to hear. Competition stuff, credentials. So anybody that's on your team that you submitted on your competition roster or that is listed in your coach's area, no, there's no fee for participants to enter. Just so you know, we'll sidestep from credentials to answer the fee question. Just so everybody knows, for Special Olympics, IUS, and community programs, there's no fee for participants unless we're talking, when it comes to community program, we have overnight events like summer games and winter games, and sometimes people stay over for fall games. There's no fee to participants, but there's a fee that's charged to the community programs that they fundraise for to cover and help us with costs. Whole rabbit hole we could go down to. But again, if you want to know more about the community program, we're more than happy to give you that information as well. But good question, no fees to enter for anything. Back to credentials. Credentials, anyone that was on your competition roster, anyone that was a coach, a volunteer, a paraprofessional, a team manager that was on the top segment of your initial team roster that you sent in earlier in the season, we are going to move them into our games management system. They will get a credential printed for them. If they were not on one of those rosters, if they were on one of those rosters but never turned in their forms or did their clearance for the coaches, volunteers, paraprofessionals, so on and so forth, they will not get a credential. Credential gives you access to competition areas and any appropriate areas that are for participants of the event. It's what helps us keep parents and spectators and other folks on the sidelines so you guys can do what you do and your students can have the best experience as competitors. Credentials also lets us know that you're getting a lunch. Essentially, when you submit your lunch thing, your lunch request, it should only be for anybody that's on your team that is gonna essentially get a credential, which would be, again, anybody on your competition roster or any of your coaches, volunteers, para-aides, team managers, so on and so forth on the top of your initial team roster. So you will get credentials in your packets. Remember to review the event guide. There's details on how team scoring works. It has the explanation for team warm-up, where you got to get there and you got to sign up for a spot for warm-ups. It'll have the match schedule when I update it with the match schedule by noon on Friday at the latest. It will have information about if you have parents that want to get food because they're not credentialed and they're not going to get a lunch from us. It'll have places that they can get food. It'll have the details about uniforming. It has essentially everything you need for the event. I highly recommend you at least look at it. I recommend even more you potentially print yourself a copy. I will also be putting a copy in your team packet to have on site as well. So the venue map. This is the outdoor venue map. The indoor venue map, same kind of concept. Again, just reduce space. The orange box of courts, those are all the hard courts. We are going to play on them. Students can be in the walkways watching in between. Parents can be in the walkways in between. There's some benches areas in between in certain places. More than happy to set up your teams anywhere in that area or any green grass areas that are open as well. The black courts for outdoors are the clay courts. I will repeat again. If we have anybody on the clay courts or we're told anyone's on the clay courts, we will, no questions asked, disqualify our team. Nobody went on them last year. They were very good, and we thank you guys for doing that. But they're very serious. It's not just a facility thing to keep their courts nice. It's also a safety thing. If you've ever been on clay courts, they're slick. They're very different than what the hard courts are. We also just don't want anybody getting hurt. So usually we put up some sort of tape or something to remind you not to go on it, but just keep an eye on your students. Make sure they're not on the clay courts. Control center, that red square, underneath there on the map, there is a white tent that is built at JTCC that stays there forever. We will have control center under that tent. The blue, the light blue, I know two of them may look blue. The light blue is the competition staging area. It's technically the one side of bleachers. It's actually the one side of bleachers to the top part of court 17, which you'll see in the next pictures. They built a stadium around it, and we used that for staging last year. That was the best location for that. You'll additionally see a updated little circle on the next map too, for where Katie will be for check-in. All of your teams, when they're called that their match is coming up for staging, will go to Katie first. So we'll talk about that on the next slide. Awards area is in the same place. There is a wall ball court, a training court there that we will do awards on. Lunch pickup, there's a big white tent by the wall ball court. Lunch will be picked up there. And then check-in and screening will be at control center. We always just have a backup plan for check-in and screening in case of COVID situations that we need to do additional check-in and screening. We do not need to do that this year. Did have a comment. So Brenda has a good question. Again, the postseason doesn't have a section in there for paras. How do we register the adults that work with the team? We go based off of the section that you sent in on the original team roster that has a big section up top that has your paras listed. Brenda, if you have a concern that you have somebody that might not be listed, email me tonight with who that may be, and I will double check your team roster from the beginning of the season. And if they're not on there, I will do a follow-up. That goes for anybody. I would rather do the runaround now at the end of the week and make sure we get them in there than you show up on site and then be concerned that you have somebody that's a para that didn't make it on there. So if you have a feeling that they didn't make your initial roster in September as a para aide that's important to your team, to support your team, please email me and put Katie on it as well. So there's a chance that you probably need to email us at least one or two things after this webinar or in the next day or two. Think about what emails you need to put together. Let's get them in early so when we move forward and we get there Tuesday, we don't have to scramble to pick up pieces. So this is the better layout for the courts. The Pershing Square Center Court is the one that they built the stadium around. That is officially court 17 and will be labeled as 17. Occasionally you may hear someone say the stadium court. It's all the same thing. Where you see that red circle above court 18 is where you will find Katie. She will be under a 10 by 10 there on the corner and right across from where staging will be. Your student athletes, when the match is coming up for them, will walk up to the tent. They will say, "Hi, Katie. I am so-and-so. This is my partner so-and-so. We're checking in for our match." She will give you a nice smile. She will say, "Great, thank you for checking in. Please go up to staging." They will walk up into the stadium court and they will sit down until their match is ready. I'm anticipating usually that's maybe 5-10 minutes at most. Again, we block out our schedule that matches have a half hour, 45-minute type of window. But we will, as soon as a court comes up, we put another set of kids on it. We run that next court open, next team up system, and we will keep running that throughout the day. Staging. Again, we will make announcements to report to Katie to be prepared for a match. Report to the staging area ready to play. Don't come over without rackets. Don't come over with, 4 pounds of jackets and sweatpants if it's a chilly day. Likely, we are going to put you into staging as participants, and we are going to get you out to a court as soon as we can. We ain't going to mess around. You're not going to be sitting there freezing. Anything you want to say about reporting to staging?
We're going to actually have a whiteboard with markers. So I will be writing down the match numbers. So when you get the match schedule that I'm working on, you will see what match number your kids are playing. So I would have a runner or somebody on your team to keep an eye on that board so that as we're going, they can see who's up next. And so this way you can get your athletes and partners ready. When the kids are done, they're going to come and report their scores to me, but I am then going to page it up to the actual control center. So if you're looking for your scores, please don't come to me. Please go to the control center. The reason we separated me is so that I am not fielding questions from coaches and trying to stage, because last year it was too much. So this way, keeping me separate from that, we'll get it updated as fast as we can.
Yeah, no, I took Katie out of the control center for your safety, okay? That's us doing a favor so you don't get hurt by Katie when you're asking questions. Yeah, so that's a great point. Results will be up at the control center or at the awards area. So again, don't go to staging for results. Please go to the control center. With that said, we will make 2 calls, 2, 4 teams to report. First call will come over the PA system. It'll be written on the whiteboard, like Katie said. And second call we'll make another loud call. It'll still be on the whiteboard. After second call, the match is going to be forfeited. We got to keep moving. It's always a tight schedule. And again, indoors, it's going to be tighter. So we're going to stick to this. The forfeit will be scored 4-0, 4-0. We will move along. Again, make sure you're paying attention. Doesn't hurt that if you have a assistant coach that's available or a unified partner and an athlete that have a match later in the day to potentially be in the same neck of the woods, not on top of staging, but the same neck of the woods to hear calls to relay that to the rest of your team if needed. Competition accommodations. We've had conversations with a handful of coaches about potential needs of exhibition matches to make sure kids get played that have participated this year, so on and so forth. If you have some sort of competition accommodation, we need that, to me and Katie, ASAP. We need those absolutely sooner rather than later, because like Katie's been talking about, the match schedule is getting finalized. Once that's finalized, if you come to us on Monday that has an accommodation that needs to change the schedule, likelihood of us being able to accommodate it gets very, very slim. So knowing that we've said that we will have it to you Friday, worst case scenario, please get in any sort of accommodation for competition by tomorrow, worst case scenario, Friday morning. Protests, something that we talk about, something that is a little bit more well-known in our community program. If you think that something was run wrong, not a call by an official was made wrong, officials have the right of judgment, and you can't protest their judgment call as an official. But if you think that a match was ran wrong or something happened that a wrong team was on a court, whatever it may be, you can file a protest. To do that, you need to go to the control center within 15 minutes after the match and say, I would like to file a protest for X, Y, or Z. They will hand you a protest form that's on 3-part NCR paper. You will fill that out. You will put your information. And then that will go to the sports rules committee for the event, which is our head official, Katie, who is our unified tennis chair, and Barb Costner is going to be our representative from a district. Additionally, we may get a coach involved as well. I like to see who's coming just to know what schools are coming before I pick somebody, because I don't know who's coming until you're coming. Again, we're not going to hurt you for filing a protest. We're not going to be mad at you for filing a protest. We want you to protect your players. We want you to make sure they're getting the best experience that they can. So if you feel something was wrong, file a protest or come to myself, come to Katie, come to Mike Sarnowski, who's our VP of Sports on site, and say, hey, I got a question. I think X, Y, or Z happened. We can always talk about it first, and then you can file a protest, or you can walk up and just file it. Don't be afraid to support and protect your athletes.
Right. And truthfully, start at the control center before coming to me.
Yes.
Because I will probably be busy putting matches out. You'll get a better chance of being heard immediately if you go up and talk to the control center with all the other SOMD personnel.
Additionally, everybody that is SOMD personnel or management team will be wearing a navy blue and yellow pullover. You can always just grab somebody that has that as well and say, hey, have you seen Zach? I need to talk to him about something. And they'll be more than happy to call on the radio or say, yes, I just saw him. He's at control center, whatever it may be. Uniforms. Uniforms are fun.
I can take it when my computer died.
Okay, great.
So for uniforms, so when your athletes come to check in with me, I am looking for them to be in solid colors. As you can see on this, and if you've seen in all our other webinars, we're not looking for them to have different color pants, shorts. We're looking for them to be in their school uniforms and colors. So for example, if a student has like a red stripe going down the side of their pants, like that green one, I'm not going to be that terribly picky, but the leggings up above, absolutely. Your students have to be in a school issued shirt. It needs to have something on there that says Special Olympics of Maryland. So if it's a t-shirt versus a sweatshirt, as long as it's got something that says Special Olympics in your school name, I'm good. I have yet to disqualify a student or a participant for their outfit. And this is my third year as the state chair for tennis. So I have not disqualified any students for this. Jewelry, I don't think we have a slide for this. Jewelry, my rule of thumb when it comes to tennis is that if it's hoop earrings, they have to come out. If they're small hoop earrings, that's different. No dangles, no nothing. Bracelets, they have to come off. It's a safety thing, especially in tennis because it's a lot of wrist movement. Glasses obviously are fine. Headgear, I'm looking for them to be in their hats. Obviously, if it's for religious reasons, that's fine. But they should not be just walking around with bandanas on their heads.
Yeah, no, for sure. I know people have asked throughout district tournaments, if it's chilly, what can they wear? Tell your team last time you meet or last communication that you send out prior to states that everybody better go out and buy one long sleeve black shirt. We're all wearing long sleeve black shirts if you're cold. Again, get on the same page. The biggest things, like Katie said, is we want, if you have matching bottoms across the board, we want that. If not, we want it as close to as possible to what they all have. We do absolutely need them to be in some sort of unified sports. The logo up in the top right corner is the logo that should be on uniforms. It should have that logo. It should have your team's logo, and they all need to be the same color and relatively similar shape. If it is a difference between a slightly different color Brunswick maroon versus 2 years ago Brunswick maroon, we're not going to get on you about that. If it's a slightly different layout where the Brunswick logo's on the front and SOMD's on the back, and the one from 2 years ago, the SOMD's on the shoulder, we're not going to get on that for you. But, for the most part, stick with same shirts, pretty much the same pants, and if you're wearing anything underneath, should be the same color, long sleeve, long legging, pants, whatever, but they need to be solid colors.
And mainly this is for your athletes and for your team so that when officials are giving scores, they're not confused on which color got it, because they're just meeting your teams for the first time. And they're also our volunteers, so we want this to be as smooth as possible and to work best for your teams.
Yeah, for sure. Team divisions, this is the same deal. Our team divisions are based on scoring opportunities, whether it's tennis, whether it's bocce, whether it's strength and conditioning, whether it's track and field. Everything we do is team format, and it's based on scoring opportunities. So again, you should be used to this by now, regardless if you've gone to the state tennis tournament or not. We do this for most of our district tournaments as well. We division you guys by scoring opportunities. We make sure everybody has equitable scoring opportunities in there. There are cases where some teams in some divisions have more matches or whatever. That'll be exhibition matches to get kids on the court so they get their minimum one match. Doesn't mean that they're getting more scoring opportunities. Again, if you have questions about scoring opportunities, don't go to Katie while she's setting up everything and getting matches on there. While it's great and she'll know what the scoring opportunities and stuff are because she has that information, she's busy keeping the tournament running. Please go to the control center. Please check in with me, or again, anybody in a navy and yellow shirt, ask them. If they don't have the answer, they will get somebody that has the answer.
You may be able to catch me like in a lull, but truthfully, if you want a fast result, go see them in the control center.
Catch Katie at your own risk. That's all I'm saying.
You make me sound horrible.
I know, I'm just trying to scare them on the front end so they don't mess with you on the back end. Awards, listen for announcements. We're gonna have more signage at awards, so it's not as much of a cluster as it was last year. I know everybody's excited at the end of the day. I know people are also trying to get out, trying to beat traffic and stuff too. We will do awards as fast as we can. Our friends from law enforcement, as part of our law enforcement torch run group, will be out to help. When you come to ceremonies, everybody should be wearing the same thing that they wore on the court. If it's chilly for some reason and people want to wear jackets while they're waiting, that is great. When they go up on the podium, coach should be there to take everyone's jacket so we can see your school colors. We want to see your school colors in photos. We want to have you guys represented. You know, awards pictures go up on social media all over the place. We want people to know that your school is your school so you guys can be recognized. So again, listen and pay attention to the signage at awards when you get there. Another note, I know some schools occasionally like to bring day of volunteers, but before you do any of that, please reach out to Samantha Boyd, sboyd@somd.org, to find out information and or register how she would like you to register. There is potential paperwork that needs to be done to be a day of volunteer, and if you have kids that are under 18, there are things that need to be signed by parents to allow them to volunteer. Don't just bring kids, otherwise you're just bringing kids to sit and hang out. And quite honestly, we don't have enough room to do that outside. And if we go inside, it's just gonna make it worse. So if you're gonna bring kids that are gonna act as day of volunteers, that's fine. You have to reach out to Sam Boyd. You have to connect with her. You have to get them registered. You have to get their day of paperwork done. We cannot facilitate, again, inside especially, any extra bodies cluttering up walkways and places that we want your competing students to have access to. Day of reminders. Take down, that is my cell phone number. If you are running late, please call me, please text me, let me know. If you have anything that pops up between now and the state tournament, feel free to shoot a text or a call with how busy we're gonna be prepping things. It may be a few hours or even a day till I get a phone call back to you, but I will do my best. And then after the state tournament, if you're bored and you need a friend, I guess you can text or call me. I'm not a great texter or caller in the first place, so likely you're better off trying to hang out with Katie after the tournament, just to let y'all know. But, so if you need anything, please, please, please text or call between now and the tournament. Please, please, please text or call in the morning if you're running late, because then we can prep and shift things around and keep rolling if we need to. Here are all the district reps. If you forgot who your district rep is, if you have a question and don't remember who they were all season long, here's their email. You can follow up with them for the most part. Actually, not for the most part, 100%. Any emails that you guys are getting from now on out as coaches for the state tournament, they're also copied on as well. So they will see everything. But again, if you need their contact information, you lost it somehow in the past 2 weeks, there it is. That's it. Question time. Okay, Joe.
So that is actually a tough one, Marissa. So we really would like for you to be able to bring those friends, but the problem is that if we go indoors, we have nowhere for them to go.
Yeah.
So truthfully, it would be a judgment call. Also, the facility is large, but there's not a lot of room for spectators. Because it's outdoor facility with all the courts. So if we want, we could go back to the picture.
Yeah. And it's again, you got to remember with tennis, it's a specialized facility with specialized fields of play. So they're not like putting in major stadiums. It's not a football field with a track around it with stadium seating across the board. It's not, indoor bocce in Hagerstown where it's a huge auditorium area. There's space. You can see the green space. You can see the deck space. You can see the space in between. But it hits a point where it gets more limited than other types of facilities.
Right. So the main spots that have actual like benches are right up there underneath the building. There's maybe 4, maybe 5 there. You can see there's those little green pavilions type things, but those really have no seats. There may be a plastic bench in there. So truthfully, if they can stay in school, that would be great. But if you want to bring them, just keep in mind that we may not have space for them to sit. Like it'll be raining the day before, so the grass will be wet. So if they bring chairs and quietly are sitting, not a problem.
Yeah. Again, my recommendation is more than usual, we could always use more day of volunteers.
Absolutely.
So if you have some that didn't make the state tournament that you are interested in bringing, reach out to Sam Boyd and let them fill volunteer roles. They get to hang out with teammates. They get to be on site with teammates. More importantly,
they get lunch.
They get lunch and service hours.
That's true, service hours.
So it might be a good way to swing some service hours for your kids that didn't qualify for competition at the state tournament. Hopefully that's a good answer for you, Marissa, because that's the best we got. Other questions?
Oh, absolutely.
Haven't seen anything yet. Again, you can also unmute at this point. You can raise your hand. We can unmute you. If you can't unmute yourself, put it in the chat. Again, you will see additional emails coming out between tomorrow and the next day. Quite honestly, more than likely, I will resend the email I sent yesterday just to make sure that everyone gets it. And just to remind you that they are there. But when I resend it, I will put the additional section for the match schedule, the link to this webinar to review the video on YouTube, and the actual slides themselves in a PDF format. So we'll hit you with everything again. If there's any sort of calls that we need to make on weather or whatever it may be, the ideal situation is we make it Sunday evening, Monday, so you can talk to transportation. I know buses are a nightmare at schools. I know coverage is a nightmare at schools. We will let you know as soon as possible. Again, the worst case scenario on weather call would be cataclysmic weather comes in Tuesday morning, and we got to do what we got to do to protect you. Likelihood of that is like, again, 1% or less. So still going to look for any questions here. Katie, anything else you want to say before we close out, though?
No, I'm just so excited for next Tuesday, and I'm so excited for your athletes, and congratulations again on making it to states. It's going to be a really good time.
Yeah. Not seeing any questions, so I will follow up what Katie said. Additionally, I want to thank all of you guys for all the work that you put in this season. I know fall season is one of the tougher ones because it's the start of school. It's a little bit harder to get things up and rolling. I know it's harder to get kids rolling. I know it's harder to get parents rolling. I know that schools are shorthanded with coaches and teachers and support staff and admin and everything under the sun. Buses are tight. So I appreciate everything that you guys do to get your team to this point, because without you guys, it doesn't happen. Thank you to all the district reps, all the hard work that they put in to get you guys here. They work day and night to set everything up, set up your weekly matches, set up the district tournament. And again, thank you to all the volunteers out there that help your teams. And remember when you're on site to thank the volunteers as well, because without them, they don't happen. But I'll echo Katie as well. I'm really excited for this event. It's the first one of the school year. We're always excited for the first one. Tennis is really fun. JTCC is a great atmosphere, and your kids always are so much fun when they come out there. So again, you have some potential homework and emails to follow up with us for things, lunch orders and such. We have homework to do to get you match schedules and the info that we sent out on Tuesday again. And next thing you know, it's going to be Tuesday of next week, and we're going to be on courts. Time limits. Yeah, time limit on a match is 30 minutes. We build in 45 if we need to do tiebreakers and such, because again, we're at the end of the line. We can't tie on stuff. It makes things really hard to calculate places at the end. So matches are 30 minutes, but we build in buffer if needed. But know that don't plan when you see matches that they are 45 minutes. In your head, plan that they're 30 minutes.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
My email is gleason.somd. Oh, it's back there.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Nope, that's you.
That's me. Hold on. I'll put it on the screen. It's on a slide somewhere, I promise.
Probably on the first slide.
Yeah, it is. Oh, we're gonna go back through every slide here. We're amateurs. We don't do these 2-3 times a season. It's coming, I promise. Here it comes. Get ready. Get your pen and pencil ready.
Oh, there I am.
Gleason.somd@gmail.com. All right, with that said, we're going to close it out. We are not going to keep you just to keep you. We appreciate, again, everything you've done. And if there's anything you need from us, please reach out. You have emails, you have cell phone numbers, everything under the sun. Just communicate with us. We'll communicate with you, and we'll be good to go for Tuesday. Thanks, folks.